Your Majesty, you're welcome, sir. We recognize, please, those of you standing there, please, can you just clear for me? Please, can you clear for me there? Please, all camera, please come here. Leave them there. Video, photo, please leave them there. Now, please, may I, with due respect, ask all of us to please stand for the Vice Chancellor's procession and remain standing. Thank you very much. The Vice Chancellor's procession for the 387th inaugural lecture of the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife.
And 87th inaugural lecture of Obafemi Awolowo University. But before I continue, let me acknowledge the presence, our presence of everyone. You are all welcome to this great occasion. It is the presenter is a professor of public administration in person of Professor Taiwo Akanbi, Olaiya. And the title of the speaker is a multidisciplinary person. Bachelor of Laws from Faculty of Law, and Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy from Faculty of Administration. He combines theoretical and practical public administration with admirable multitasking dexterity. At the Faculty of Administration, he rose through the ranks to become a professor of public administration, specializing in comparative governance and public policy analysis. To date, he has published a book as a sole author, another with a colleague, and articles in at least 15 books written by several authors onshore and offshore. Simultaneously, he has about 100 journal articles published and some awaiting final steps for publication. Over 2/3 of his articles are published in Scopus, Web of Science, and other authoritative and reputable outlets. As we speak, he's a reviewer and an associate editor to over 30 reputable journals published by Sage, Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, and Springer, to mention a few. In Africa, he has served and still serving as external examiner, business scholar, assessor, and course instructor in reputable universities, including the University of the Gambia. Across Nigeria, he has served and still serving as external examiner and assessor to various universities. And back home at Ife here, he has examined over 150 postgraduate candidates in various faculties, including social sciences, law, administration, arts, and agriculture. To the glory of God, he's a legal practitioner, solicitor, and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He attended conferences and workshops such as the ones organized by Codestria, UNECA, ECOWAS, African Union, ECAS, American Society for Public Administration. In a way, he carved a sizable niche of outstanding scholarship around himself in the discipline of public administration. On a final note, apart from research activities, he has been a teacher all his life. He taught in primary schools, secondary schools, continuing education classes, polytechnic, college of education, and universities. At the universities, close to 2 decades of which are in Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, he has been able to advance the horizon of knowledge through teaching of several public administration courses. Professor Olaiya is sociable and full of energy with eyes on the mountain top. He's the current president of OAU Staff Club, the patron of National Ife Descendant Students Association, and the immediate past chairman of Great Ife Alumni Association, among other social and communal responsibilities, is happily married with wonderful children. It's my pleasure to invite Professor Akanbi, Olaiya, Professor Taiwo Akanbi Olaiya, to present his inaugural professorial lecture. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my joy knows no bounds today. Delivering the 387th inaugural lecture of this great university. This evening, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I am humbled by your towering presence and eternally grateful for this important opportunity. First and foremost, permit me to attribute everything to God Almighty for the strange success story that is me. I stand before you today as a child of history. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I stand before you today as a child of history, just short of a miracle. For how could any mortal have imagined that poor pupil with woeful elementary, primary, and secondary education could progressively rise through thick and thin to become a professor? I appreciate Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, for the rare opportunity, particularly as I join on this hallowed podium my 386 worthy predecessors in the inaugural lecture series at the quintessential Ife. Following the tradition, I wish to solemnly render before you, Mr. Vice Chancellor, and to the entire humanity, an account of my humble contribution to knowledge, especially from the standpoint of eclectic discipline of public administration and my field of specialization, which is comparative governance and public policy analysis. I must confess that it was not difficult for me to choose this topic, the topic that will be appropriate for today's inaugural lecture. I have been learning public administration since 1996 under the exemplary tutelage of Professor E.J. Herrero and Professor Bamidele Ayo, of both of blessed memory. Professor Anthony Mayowa Oladoyin, on whose erudite shoulder I rose to attain doctoral status, provided the philosophical background. I have served and still serving in practical public administration positions from ward level as a supervisory councillor for a central local government appointed from Morojaja ward, the cradle city of Ile-Ife, to local government as an appointed chairman of a central local government, and to state as a member of local State Joint Allocation Account Committee, and recently at the federal level as the chairman governing council Polytechnic Ede. After consulting widely with friends, family, teachers, public intelligentsia, I reached the harmonizing topic where state falters, do public policies offer a buffer? Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, this journey for 1,000 miles started in All Saints Primary School and St. John's Grammar School, both in Ilode, Ile-Ife. After 4 years of wandering and remediating the poor beginning, God finally used the trio of Mr. Timothy Adefiwitan, Professor Shayo Omidiora, and Mr. Sunday Akimbode to provide the pathway that opened the opportunity for scaling through the gigantic fence of WAEC O-level. From there on, I discovered myself, and the rest is today's history. As my dear mother and father, both of blessed memory, were always urging me on, and my friends, Magistrate Kanji Ode, Professor Yinka Adeshino, Professor Eto Babalola, Mudashiru Adeboye, and Femi Elufioye, have always accorded me with a professor long time ago. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the zeal to arrive here was a determined and destined history. Mr. Vice Chancellor, permit me to go to today's duty. As we gather today to explore the intriguing topic, where the state falters, do public policies offer a buffer? We are reminded of the complex dynamics between state capacity and public policy effectiveness. The notion that states may falter in their duties is a pressing concern, especially at the moment, and it is crucial to examine the role of public policies in mitigating such failure. In this lecture, there is a deliberate departure from state failure to the novel state faltering. The concept of state failure refers to a complete breakdown of government capacity and the loss of monopoly of force, resulting in the total collapse of the state ability to govern. In contrast, state faltering refers to a more nuanced phenomenon characterized by a decline in the quality and quantity of public services rather than a complete collapse. As such, state faltering is a more pervasive issue affecting most countries around the world. The faltering of the nation state, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, is active eating on the global public space. Rarely do movements pass without reports of agitations against certain government plans, inactions, or actions in national and international media. On the streets of London, Washington, Brussels, Sao Paulo, Beijing, Tokyo, Moscow, New Delhi, Baghdad, and not in the least, Lagos, Abuja, Banjul, Kinshasa, Cairo, and Johannesburg, to mention a few. The warning echoes of frustration and misanthropy and raw anger against government and public authorities can be heard, felt, and seen very clearly. Within the last 5 years, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, protesters have taken to the streets of Nigeria and shaking Nigerian politics to its very foundation. In the last quarter of 2020 and mid-2024, the ENTRA and EDBAD governance protest rocked the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, state capitals, and major cities of Nigeria. In Sudan, Brazil, and a host of other states, protesters are tinkering with regime change campaign with a seat that can only be as historical as ever witnessed. In the United Kingdom, some citizens saw the opportunity of the mother of 3 children to take to the street on the 30th July of 2024, as the BBC aptly captioned the scenario. Quote, the protest revealed deep-rooted anger. It is a compelling narrative to those looking for someone to blame for the struggles they face in their daily lives. That is, the cost of living, unaffordable housing, and poor quality public services. End of quotes. In all of this scenario, the state has not completely broken down, only unable to meet citizens' expectations. In this essay, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I shall highlight 3 major proximate causes of state faltering, which are jinxed democracy, derailed capitalism, and excessive population growth. The issue for me is that attention has been granted to each of these conjoined triplets severally, never jointly. I will attempt to reverse this yawning gap with evidences from not only the state of Africa, but also from the so-called nation state across global continents. At another level, I shall argue that the so-called industrial revolution and globalization, with attendant colonialism and imperialism, constitute the remote causes that continue to make public policy formulation and implementation fallen, particularly in Africa. Just before that, sir, please permit me to briefly analyze the notion of state and public policy, particularly in Africa and specifically in Nigeria, with a view to explaining the connection of how the fortune of the former can be revived by the latter. The state as given. Political scientists often commence the discourse of the state as a departure from the state of nature, where, according to social contract theorists, human life was brutish, nasty, brutish, and short. To escape the chaos, people formed the state. The state is therefore a human entity that has a system of governance with a defined territory where it exercises absolute control over its population. However, the state can be a source of oppression, an instrument of control and domination, and a perpetuator of inequalities and injustice. Its power can be wielded for good and for ill, depending on the intention of those who control the power. It is indeed widely believed that the concept of the state originated from the social contract theorists like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and J.J. Rousseau. However, numerous scholars have challenged this notion, arguing that the idea of state predates these thinkers. For instance, historians have generally written about Mesopotamia that was home to several influential cities and civilization around 3,500 before Christ. Similarly, philosophers and political scientists like Niccolo Machiavelli, Baron de Montesquieu, Leonid, Aesop, they have all written that the concept of the state has its roots in the ancient Greek Rome. We have philosophers like Plato and Aristotle discussed the idea of a centralized authority as Willett. And as Willett also wrote about Ife, which according to Yoruba tradition is the center of the world, where the children of the high god Olodumare came down through a chain from heaven with a 5-toed chicken and a bowl of sand that the chicken scattered across the primordial ocean to make the land. That the inhabitants of Ife possessed such an evolved urban civilization, according to Willett in 1967, is one of the viable testimonies that the idea of state in the Black world predated the social contrast theory. Meanwhile, some writers have equally argued that the state of nature is a fictional or hypothetical construct rather than an actual historical or anthropological reality. Nevertheless, there is little doubt that the social contract theory's revolutionary idea unleashed a transformative force that reshaped the very fabric of political thought, paving the way for the modern states. By positing that political authority stem from the consent of the governed, they shattered the traditional notion of divine rights and absolute monarchy. Thomas Hobbes, in particular, his Leviathan and John Locke's two treatises and J.J. Rousseau's social contract collectively form the triumvirate of influential works that redefines the state's purpose, scope, and legitimacy. The idea trickled down, permeated the intellectual landscape, and inspiring some subsequent thinkers to build upon the foundations they laid. Now we have an idea of what the state looks like. Is the state faltering? And to look at this scenario, we are going to look at it from two perspectives. The nature of the state as we currently have it, and the state of nature that we departed from. At the epicenter of the social contract, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, lies the mutual trust between the governor and the governed. However, the domineering status, assertive powers, and monopoly of violence wielded by state, in sharp contrast to citizens' helplessness and overdependence on the state, suggests that the social contract is largely undermined, if not defeated. As Thomas Hobbes pointed out, the state of nature was like an existence where each man lives for himself. Similarly, In the modern state, as Amatudro in 2009 argued, it's the hegemony of the capitalist state that maintains dominance over the people, with or without the use of force, by molding the ideas and values of the ordinary people. The strong that clamps down on the weak in the dense state of nature may have just materialized as the government that arrogates and abuses power, notwithstanding whose us is God. As the state becomes increasingly dysfunctional, it begins to exhibit characteristics of the state of nature. Factionalism, tribalism, regionalism, populism emerge as different groups vie for power and resources. The social contract, which is meant to be the foundation of the state, frays and eventually breaks, leading to a collapse in the social cohesion. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the state of nature is analogous to Ilu backward people's city, described by the master storyteller, D.O. Fagunwa, in Ireke Onibudo, where the eponymous character tells of a city infested by ireje, inequalities, chaos, and rampant theft, fights, and assassination. And now he was warned, ọmọkùnrin, ṣe ni kí o wá ibi sápamọ́ sí nígbà tí ó bá di ọjọ́ alẹ́, nítorí pé wọ́n lè bọ́ sòkòtò ìdí rẹ lọ. My dear brother, be vigilant, because even your trousers can be stolen. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I perceive singers as not mere fun givers, not just rhythm givers. For me, singers are social commentators, they are storytellers, they are chroniclers, they are situation resonator, they are capturing human experiences, emotions, and struggle. In 1979, Bob Nestamali, the arguably greatest rock reggae star, hauntingly depicts the harsh reality of the state's falling system, where citizens daily struggle with poverty, inequality. In his song titled One Drop, he says, they make the war so hard. Every day we got to keep on fighting. They made the war so hard. Every day the people are dying. For hunger and starvation, lamentation. Earlier in 1977, a Nigerian poet, Lanrewaju Adepoju, waxed Ilule, recognizing the menace of cash crunch as a deliberate attempt by the state to punish the citizens. Also, Dr. Victor Olaiya, in an arresting and melodious voice, sang the track Iluleo, meaning time is hard, in 1983 does. Iluleo kò sówó lóde, Iluleo kò sówó lóde, obìnrin kígbe, ọkùnrin kígbe, kálukú ló ń kéde owó. In the modern state that we currently occupy, time is hard. There is no money. Everyone is lamenting for lack of cash. When Idris Abdulkarim in 2004 lamented, Nigeria jaga jaga, everything scatter scatter, poor man dey suffer suffer, he was pointing to the dystopian reality of the Nigerian state. In a nutshell, the striking resemblance between the state of nature that we left and the modern state as we currently, as it were, serves as an unambiguous revelation that the state has faltered. Why then do state falter? We have identified here proximate causes: jinxed democracy, derailed capitalism, excessive population growth. There is no doubt, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, that democracy packs exemplary ideals. In 2000, Lagbaja sang Surulere to show the promise of democracy as a good governance and welfare, not altercation and crisis. Rhetorically, the singer asked, Kila wa ṣe, ṣẹjọ́ la wa fàyè gbọ́, kila wa ṣe, ṣebáyé la wa jẹ níbí. Are we here for argument? No. We are here to enjoy the benefits of democracy. I ask, where is democracy's government of the people, described by Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on November 19, 1863? truth be told, the people no longer have a say, not to say the way. In all countries, the system throws up mediocres, thieves with deepest pockets and smartest political propaganda machine. Capitalism on its part, driven by technological advancement, led to increased efficiency, yes, and productivity, yes, and profit. For me, the system of free market and laissez-faire capitalism that Adam Smith wrote glowingly about in The Wealth of Nations has vanished. Sadly, what resonates now are a branch of well-organized corporate autocrats, cornering frightening wealth by squeezing the masses dry in the name of profit. And some stealing from their own companies, thereby widening inequalities. Excessive population growth is an uneasy calm. Whoever still considers the present human number at 7.9 billion as procreation is selfish and decidedly ignorant. The finite earth resources can no longer cope, and supplies now fall short of demand. In short, with poor leadership from jinxed democracy, dedicated rogues masquerading as corporate investors, an endless number of citizens to cater for, there is little wonder why the state will falter. The remote causes, as identified earlier, industrial revolution and globalization. The thread of industrialization and globalization, with colonialism and imperialism in the chink, are intricately woven, forming a complex tapestry that has contributed significantly to state faltering. The industrial revolution marked the beginning of this trajectory. To fuel the gigantic material needs of European powers, they exploited resources and labor from colonized territories through colonialism and imperialism. On its part, globalization kills local initiatives. Mega corporations take over productions all over the world and trades by first reducing the price and then raising the price thereafter astronomically after local competitors have been exterminated. In short, globalization brought dollar economies to all over the world, and the current regime of chronic inflation in all countries of the world, including Nigeria and the United States of America. The cumulative impact of these historical forces has weakened state capacity, fostered corruption, and exacerbated inequality. Post-colonial states in particular, like Nigeria, struggle with institutional fragility, including compromised state legitimacy, social unrest, and ultimately state faltering. For the case of Africa, we would like to look at it from state making to state capture. Africa's post-colonial journey has been marked by a troubling trajectory from state making to state capture. At independence, African nations embarked on state building endeavors, seeking to establish robust institutions, promote economic development, and foster social cohesion. However, this process was soon derailed by internal and external pressures. Weak institutional foundations, coupled with cold era geopolitics, enabled authoritarian leaders to consolidate power and exploit state resources for personal gains. As a result, many African states succumbed to neo-patrimonialism, characterized by corrupt network, patronage politics, and crony capitalism. Today, state capture by elite interests has become a defining feature of many African states. Powerful politicians, businessmen, and foreign actors have infiltrated and manipulated the state institutions, bending policies to serve their private interests. For Nigeria, the post-colonial journey exemplifies African tragic trajectory from state making to state capture. As a promising nation building project, succumbed to entrenched corruption, nepotism, and elite manipulation, transforming the state into a conduit for personal enrichment and power consolidation, and leaving the citizens disenfranchised and institutions largely crippled. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, how do we locate the position of public policy in all of this confusion? To all intents and purposes, public policy refers to actions, decisions, and positions taken by government entities guided by existing laws and regulations. It outlines government intentions, goals, and objectives, shaping the allocation of resources and services and benefits to citizens. Public policy comes with many characteristics. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, please permit me to mention a few of these characteristics. The first is that public policy follows the law. By following the law, it emanates from the law. And public policy ensures that government actions are not only legitimate, they are also accountable, transparent, fair, and just. At another level, public policy is law in motion. Public policy serves as a dynamic manifestation of the law, transforming legislative frameworks into tangible actions that impact citizens' life. It bridges the lacuna and prevents the excesses of the law. It serves as a final link between the letters of the law and the nuanced realities of societal need. Finally, public policy insists on orderliness in a soft and subtle manner by injecting morality into the society and harvesting raw talent of individuals in ways that the law may not. In Nigeria, I remember the government of former Oyo State and how they enlisted a number of brilliant personalities to champion public policy. Baba Yemi Elebuibon, the popular Elebuibon, led the campaign for quality education with a popular jingle addressed to educationists then as does. Àṣírí ìkòkò yẹ kó tójú ajá tú. Àṣírí ìdánwò tọ́kọ sẹ́nu rẹ̀ jáde. Ẹni afẹ̀yìntì bí ó bá yẹ̀ wíwí ní wí. Ó dífá fún ìwọ tí afẹ̀yìntì nínú ìdánwò o. Ìwọ olùkọ́, ìwọ akọ̀wé, ìwọ atẹ̀wé. Má fà àṣírí ìdánwò ọmọ rẹ. Má fà àṣírí ìdánwò hàn nítorí owó. Má fà àṣírí ìdánwò hàn olùfẹ́. A kì màmá ìṣe irú ẹ̀ kọ́mọ òun ni. A kì màmá ìṣe irú ẹ̀ kọ́mọ òun ni o. A kì màmá ìṣe irú ẹ̀ kọ́mọ òun ni. The then traffic policy, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, was led by the duo of Baba Disensi Olaiya and Chief Ogundare Foyanmu. The government harnessed the raw talents of Chief Ogundare Foyanmu to stimulate commercial vehicle passengers with a jingle cautioning the driver doors. Onímọ́tò mọ́súre wọ onímọ́tò ń gbé ọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀run oṣù tún rojọ́ wẹ́wẹ́. Tí ẹ ṣe wá jẹ́ kìkì àròyé bí ẹyẹ ìbáka. Òrojú wo onímọ́tò tí ń gbé ọ sáré kó má gbé ìrọ̀rùn ọ̀sán gangan. Súnmọ́ mi jáde sàn ń gbójú kúkú lọ́dọ̀ mi lórí tí ń bọ́ sí ọ lẹ́nu. Ìwọ lè nìyẹn ń fẹ̀gbẹ́ gún, ìwọ ni wọ́n ń forí tì nígbà àyà. Jáwa kọ̀ ó pọkàn pọ̀ kí wọ́n wá mọ́tò rẹ̀ lè mórí délé sinmi pòròǹpòtò mọ́sà pẹpẹ kélédùmarè ó jẹ́ kẹ́gúnlẹ̀ láyọ̀. This was meticulously followed by the admonitions from Baba Disensi Olaiya. He said, onímọ́tò mọ́súre wọ̀kọ́ náà o. Mọ́súre wọ̀kọ́ náà o. Mo bímọ sílé mọ́ lọ́nìyàn sílé o. Mẹ́fì kanjú ja ayé mi. Mo bímọ sílé mọ́ lọ́nìyàn sílé o. Bìrìbìrì láyé yín. Mo bímọ sílé mọ́ lọ́nìyàn sílé o. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, these are a tip of the iceberg in the ways government have keyed into public policy as the ultimate driver of the state. Where then the state has faltered? Do public policy offer a buffer? The foremost ghastly defect of the idea of the state, which equated the state with the power of government, where citizens are reduced to mere puppets, is a fundamental flaw from the conception. The perspective perpetuates a top-down approach, where government exercises absolute control, disregarding citizens' participation. As political philosopher John Locke astutely observed, the power of the government is not the power of the state, but the power of the people who have chosen to vest it in the government. Fortunately, equating the power of the state with that of the government, where citizens are reduced to mere puppets, can be bridged by credible public policy. By recognizing the agency of the citizen, insisting on orderliness, and enforcing law in a civil way, public policy involves the citizen in the decision-making process, ensuring that their rights, interests, and needs are addressed. A well-designed public policy is like a masterfully crafted puzzle where each piece fits to create a beautiful picture of prosperity and well-being. It is a symphony of wisdom, expertise, and compassion, orchestrated to address the complex needs of the society. With best practices, a well-designed public policy will seamlessly address pressing societal needs with clarity of purpose, balancing individual freedom and collective responsibilities. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is important to state that public policy rests on 5 chronological and systemic philosophies of public administration, which are the philosophy of public happiness, which rests squarely on utilitarianism and Pareto optimality. Utilitarianism, as formulated by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, is a moral theory that posits that the greatest happiness of the greatest number is the ultimate goal of government action. Also, Pareto optimality is a concept in decision-making that is focused in public policy enunciation. It refers to a state where the individual can be better off without making another individual worse off. The philosophy of best instinct. In the context of public administration and public policy, the philosophy of best instinct holds that the public officials rely on their well-developed instinct to make decisions that promote public interest. A good explanation of intuitionism are the intuitive contingency in decision taken by the historic Yoruba cosmology in decision making. We have it in the folklore that 2 individuals were faced with the same situation at different times. On the one hand was Olurombi, who promised his only child for sacrifice for communal peace. On the other hand was Alujonjo Kijon, who hid his mother while others killed theirs. And later the advice given by the mother will later become helpful to the community. We also have the philosophy of rights and privilege, which in public administration is about liberalism. It influences allocation of privileges and resources, and such as access to education, healthcare, social services, to ensure that they are distributed fairly and based on needs rather than privileges or status. The philosophy of equity and a just society emphasizes the importance of fairness, impartiality, and equal treatment in the distribution of resources and services, treating the equals equally and the unequals unequally. The philosophy of cultural contingency says that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. It is not always adequate under public services. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, in all, public policy insists on morality, orderliness, hindsight, and foresight. The virtue of a sound public policy was ably displayed in Tunde Kelani Shaworode in 1999. In that epic movie, Baba Opalaba, which is Adebayo Faleti, and Baba Amawomaro, which is Peter Tomilola, insisted that the idea of an ordered society is the only guarantee for good governance. Public policy in that movie is riddled in the primordial parable of the drum, which created a pact between an ancient community and the king that ruled over them. It involves the making of Adeide, brass crown, Shaworo Etilu, drum jingle bell, Adoide, small brass container, and Ilu Dudun, mother talking drum. The mobilizing was an Odufa Ifa divination named Oturameji. Asofufu ní sunkún aró, ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ní sunkún èkejì tán. Adífá fún Adémúrọ̀mọ́kùn, ọmọ ní àlàkà ìṣùrú. Níjọ́ tí mẹ́kún ṣe ráhùn ire gbogbo, bọ́kàn bá yọ nígbó, abọ́nà wá, ire gbogbo, òmùwájogbo wá o, ire gbogbo, bá a bá dami orí, abẹ́sẹ̀ wá, ire gbogbo, òmùwájogbo wá o, ire gbogbo. The translation: only a white cloth appreciates good dyes. A good turn deserves another. As Aderomokun was instructed, a well-hunted animal will always come to target, and water poured on the head will get to the feet. Let the good tithing come to the community. As a result, a new king is then tied intricately and irretrievably with the good governance in a way that makes it impossible for the monarch to amass wealth from public covers. The meticulous engineering of public policy process in Shaworode is certainly akin to today's public policy enunciation and implementation procedure, with strict adherence to rule, ethics, and regulations. Mr. Vice Chancellor. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. 3 states are discernible within the context of this discourse. The first is a state with an existing good governance or a semblance of that good governance. The second is a state in transition, not particularly faltered, but then having some element of faltering. The third is a state that has faltered. For the first state with good grip of governance, if any, public policy can offer the seamless continuity of the indices with no hazard of deviation. In that state, public policies serve as a linchpin, ensuring the uninterrupted continuation and progress and development. Like a masterful conductor leading an orchestra, public policy harmonizes the various indices of governance, creating a concerto of stability and growth. As such, the state trajectory remains steadfast. The ship of the state sails smoothly. Its course charted by the wise and visionary leaders who have crafted policies that prioritize the well-being of all citizens. For the second state, which is a state in transition, public policy has the capacity to show direction and ensure adherence to strict rule for achieving the set goals. In such a state, public policy serves as a beacon of guidance, illuminating the path forward and charting a course. Like a skilled navigator, public policy sets the direction, ensuring that the state remains on track, even as it traverses uncharted territory. For the last state, which is a state that has faltered, public policy has the stand capacity to initiate a planning direction that can be applied until a prosperous nation emerges. In that faltered state, public policy stands as a stalwart sentinel, ready to sound the clarion call for renewal and rebirth. Like a master cartographer, public policy can be utilized in mapping out a new trajectory, charting a course through the treacherous water of stagnation and decline. It summons the collective will of the nation, mobilizing resources and harnessing the energy of the citizens. In a state where public policy is strictly adhered to, the government promises are tempered by the reality of state's capacity. Like a responsible steward, the government avoids making promises it cannot keep, and instead focuses on delivering tangible results within the limits of the country's resources. The citizens, on the other hand, too, understand that the state resources are finite and that excessive demand can lead to unsustainable burdens. In this harmonious relationship, the government and the citizens are bound together by a shared understanding of what is possible. On a note of conclusion, Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is important to admit that most states of the world hardly come into being by social contract or any consensus addendum among the occupiers. In fact, the time allowed submission of Olaiya in 2024, the subject of state are like a newborn baby who grows into his accessory without a choice. The infant will later be told that the constitution that even his forebears did not partake in crafting is the supreme law. Potentially, in short, the state is a haven of non-committal actors. Over time, the subject of the state crafted capitalism and shifted the goalpost of price mechanism to allow exploitation of fellow subjects. Democratic processes are deliberately gamed to impose self-serving leadership, and gradually democratic autocracy emerged. The subjects also brought industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, mega factories that took jobs away from other subjects and rendered them poor while it becomes super rich. Empires are formed using colonialism, imperialism, slavery, globalization also came into force to mentally enslave other subjects and rob them of their generational treasure and toil. The so-called governments are incapable, or unwilling, or perhaps confused. In the milieu, the nature of state returns infinitesimally to the state of nature. Added to the conundrum is human nature of me first before them. By such chemical reaction from subjects and government, the state falters. However, public policy can provide the calm, the commitment, and cool demeanor of both subjects and foreign and sovereign. Because public policy are fashioned purely on the 5 cardinal philosophies of public administration, as earlier discussed, decisions and government are always on the same page. More so, public policy rests on the legal, equitable principle of nemo dat quod non habet, which means no one gives what they do not have on the part of the government. And the equitable maximum of vigilantibus non dominantibus aura subveniunt, meaning the law assists those who are vigilant and not those who sleep. The former, on the part of the government, implies that the government cannot provide what it does not possess. In the end, public policy is grounded in reality, acknowledging the government limitations and capability. The latter suggests that citizens also have a responsibility to be aware of their rights and interests. The law will only protect and support those who actively engage with and assert their right, rather than those who remain positive and uninformed. The collective body of my research, Mr. Vice Chancellor, underscores the role of public policy in addressing state faltering. Individually, my articles highlight specific policy areas that require attention, such as tax administration, intergovernmental relations, political economy of oil and agricultural development, healthcare, education, sustainable development, environmental conflict resolution. These are represented in the publication by Olaiya in 2001, Olaiya in 2011, Olaiya in 2011 again. Then by Olaiya and Ejimoku in 2011, Olaiya in 2012, Omaleke and Olaiya in 2012, Ejimoku and Olaiya in 2011, Olaiya in 2012, Omaleke and Olaiya in 2012, Olaiya in 2014, Olaiya in 2014B, Olaiya in 2015, Olaiya et al. 2016, Olaiya et al. 2016A, Olaiya et al. 2016, Olaiya again 2016, Folami and Olaiya 2017, Olaiya in 2017, Olaiya in 2020, Olaiya again 2020, Olaiya in 2022, Olaiya again 2022, Olaiya and Sawane 2023, Olaiya and Salako 2023, Olaiya and Sawane 2024. The recurring kernel of the research has laid about is to lay emphasis on the need for effective fiscal policies and to promote economic growth and reduce inequality. Then, deliberative socio-economic and political policy and its impact on the citizens. At another level, the article also stressed the importance of good governance, democratic governance, local governance, institutional frameworks, strategic management in public service delivery, global continental studies, development and gender studies, decolonization, cybercrime, financial, youth, and social inclusion. These are included by publication Olaiya in 2008, Olaiya in 2010A, Olaiya in 2010B, Olaiya in 2012 again, Olaiya in 2013, Omaleke and Olaiya in 2014, Olaiya et al. 2014, Olaiya and Shinyabade in 2014, Olaiya again 2014, Folami and Olaiya in 2015, Folami and Olaiya again 2015, Olaiya in 2015, Folami and Olaiya in 2016, Olaiya in 2016, Makinde and Olaiya in 2016. In 2020, 3 publications, Olaiya 20A, Olaiya 2020B, Olaiya 2020C, and then Olaiya in 2021, Olaiya in 2022, and Olaiya in 2022 again, Olaiya and Asawana in 2022, Olaiya and Salako in 2023. These studies emphasize the need for an accountable and transparent leadership and demonstrate that public policy can help in mitigating state faltering and promote sustainable development. Furthermore, my research also highlights the interconnectedness of governance issues and the need for a holistic approach in terms of governance crisis, democratization, party system, analysis of human resource policies, due process, migration, and employment policies, privatization policy, and ethnicity. These are contained in Oladoyin and Olaiya and Oladele in 2006, Olaiya in 2007, Oladoyin and Olaiya in 2009, Olaiya in 2012, Omaleke and Olaiya in 2012, Olaiya et al. 2013, Olaiya in 2015, Olaiya and Iroju 2015, Olaiya in 2016, Olaiya in 2016 again, Omaleke Benson and Olaiya in 2017, Olaiya in 2020, 3 publications, ABC, Olaiya in 2023, Olaiya in 2023 again, and then Olaiya in 2024, this current year. These collective works explore the complex relationship between resource management, economic development and governance, and the intersection of identity, politics, and governance. By considering these complex dynamics, policymakers can craft more effective solutions to address state faltering and promote good governance in Nigeria and beyond. Across Nigerian universities, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have served, like you said, and still serving as personal examiner and assessor of the various universities. Back home at Great Ife, I have examined over 150 postgraduate students in various faculties, including social sciences, law, administration, arts, and agriculture. I took my time to emerge as a multidisciplinary scholar with bagged degrees from social sciences, administration, and law. To the glory of God, I am a legal practitioner, solicitor, and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. To garnish my thought process, I enrolled in online programs and successfully bagged certificates from major universities across the globe, including but not limited to Harvard University, University of Virginia, Deaf University of Technology, University of Texas, University Catholic de Louvain in Belgium, University of California, Yale University, Universiteit Leiden in The Hague, Netherlands, University of Geneva in Geneva, Switzerland, and MIT, United States of America. I traveled to Europe and bagged postgraduate certificate in constitutional building and public policy analysis in Central European University at Budapest, Hungary. I traveled to America at the University of Michigan to bag a postgraduate certificate in political and social research with specialization in quantitative method of social research at the University of Michigan. These trains that I passed through paid off and ingrained quality into my published research, which also reflected his assessment rate at prestigious referee conferences and workshops such as the one organized by Codestria, UNECA, ECOWAS, African Union, European Union, International Ideas, ECAS, American Society for Public Administration, European Association of Development, Research and Training Institute, International Institute of Social Studies, ISS, in The Hague, Netherlands, Qatar Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Turkish Police Academy, Obafemi University at various faculties, departments, and units, University of Michigan, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Central European University, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, University of Cape Coast in Ghana, African Studies Centers, including Tamagolan African Center at Ben Gurion University of the Negev, Beersheba in Israel, African Studies Center at the University Leiden, to mention but a few. By the same token, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my research also attracted review invitation from notable and reputable publishing houses such as Springer, Routledge and Francis, University of Edinburgh, University of Edinburgh in United Kingdom, University of Tennessee in United States. In a way, I have carved a sizable niche of outstanding scholarship around myself in the discipline of public administration. If it suffices to say, I have successfully supervised and graduated over 200 postgraduate students, including 8 postdoctoral candidates and scores of research master's candidates. On a final note, Mr. Vice Chancellor, apart from research activities, I've been a teacher all my life. I taught in primary schools, secondary schools, continuing education centers, polytechnic, college of education, and universities. At the university level, close to 2 decades of which are in Obafemi Awolowo University here, I've been able to advance the horizon of knowledge through teaching of several public administration courses. During the period, I've demonstrated a high level of competence and professionalism, such as construction of courses, class presentation, tutorial, assignment and grading, innovation in classroom, commitment to teaching, intensive and sustained attention to teaching and learning process, instilling in students the desire to be lifelong learners and availability to students. I am sociable and full of energy, with eyes on the mountain top. I am the current president of OAU Staff Club. I am the global patron of the National Student Association, NITSA. I am the immediate chairman of the Great Ife Alumni Association of the Source Branch, among other social and communal responsibilities. I am married and blessed with wonderful boys and a girl. Mr. Vice Chancellor, even though the letter read that we should avoid acknowledgement, please permit me to read a little, to touch a little of people that have touched my life while moving to this extent. As I conclude this inaugural lecture, I'm reminded of the various individuals who have contributed to my academic journey. I extend my deepest gratitude to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adebayo Simeon Bamire, for starting and concluding the process that made me a professor and pronouncing me a professor of public administration within the first few months of assuming the office. Thank you, sir. Again, I thank him so much for inviting me to join the esteemed League of Professors to conduct inaugural lecture and approving today's date. My family, nuclear, extended, who have been my rock throughout the year and have supported me unconditionally, I thank my family, Mrs. Folake Owojori Olaiya, Bisola Owojori Olaiya, Akimbiola Owojori Olaiya, Anu Owojori Olaiya, Mrs. Mosekola Akiosho, Mrs. Yemisi Oloyede, Mr. Bumi Duduyemi, Mrs. Busayo Bishakin, Mrs. Yemisi Ologbenla, Honorable Tunji Owojori, Mrs. Bolanle Alejinloye, and others too numerous to mention. Professor M.O. Kotoni, A.M. Oladoyin, A.A. Adesopo, I.O. Fayomi Awodele, C.O. Ogbogu, K.S. Benson, O.O. Pokuola, and other esteemed colleagues in the Department of Public Administration, particularly Dr. R.O. Sakre, Dr. A.O. Azan, Dr. T.O. Agbola, Dr. O.O. Ayeni, Dr. D.O. Akweloko, Dr. O. Alamu, Dr. M.A. Bello, and Dr. Mrs. P.I. Igbokwe, and my boy, Dr. B.W. Shinyabade, who have supported me with open arms, and I appreciate their invaluable support. The Faculty of Administration, currently led by Professor F.O. Fagbon, and the immediate past dean, Professor Funsho Adeshola, provided a stimulating environment, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to engage with scholars from diverse disciplines. Professor A.M. Oladoyin has been a guiding light, offering wisdom and insight that shaped my research. The lecture organizing committee, led by Dr. R.O. Sakre, worked tirelessly to ensure the success of this event. I am grateful to all members of the committee. I am indebted to my first doctoral graduate and later research collaborator, Professor Bana Sawane of the University of the Gambia, whose contribution enriched my work. The funding institutions including Boston University, Massachusetts, USA, Codestria, the Institute of French Research in Africa provided invaluable support and space during my doctoral training that concretized my academic journey. My countless students, particularly postgraduate candidates out there, inspire me with their curiosity and enthusiasm. I am committed to continually mentoring them on their academic journey. Yeah. The University Administration has provided support and dedication, and I appreciate the effort. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this is my inaugural. I thank you for listening.
The remix, believe it or not. The remix, believe it or not. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. This is how it should be done. Cause this style is identical to none. How can I make you dance? Come on, BD. That's what you came here for, right?
Thank you very much. Obafemi University, Ile-Ife. Certificate of Presentation of Inaugural Lecture. This satisfies that Taiwo Akanbi Olaiya, a professor of public administration in the Department of Public Administration, Faculty of Administration, Obafemi University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria, delivered the 387th inaugural lecture titled Where the State Falters, Do Public Policies Offer a Buffer? On October 8, 2024. Congratulations.
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Here we go, it's getting close. Now it's just who wants It's just life, that's how it is. Cause we have our strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I have vision, oh, can't you see?